Welcome, everybody. Tonight is a very special Trivium presentation. The Trivium method is something a lot of people have heard about. They may have seen it in action some places. You've seen it implicitly in action in instruction manuals. You've seen it in Lego instruction manuals. You've seen it in the instruction manuals that you get in the mail, that you're getting in the mail from Amazon. These are individual parts, how they fit together, how to use and troubleshoot the object. It is a three-step process. We're going to learn tonight about the Trivium method. Now, classically, there's something in antiquity known as the classical Trivium. It is the first three of the 7 liberal arts. We're going to learn about those words tonight. They're supposed to be arts of liberation, and these were the essential elements that you needed to gain knowledge, understanding, and to express it wisely in the world through your actions. So we're going to learn why it was such an effective method. We're also going to learn how to put it back. And if you've listened to any of my work over the past 16, 17 years, you've probably heard many stories about how it was taken out of our culture. And maybe that's a good reason why we should put it back in. I'm going to cut to the slides, and I'm going to cut back and forth and talk to you guys every so often to keep it lively. But let's go on the journey. And let me move my cursor over here. Tonight's presentation is titled Unlock the Trivium Method and Unleash Your Mind. Now, that logo on the right, it was originally all in Latin. I translated some of it for you. Grammar is not logic, which is not rhetoric. That is the non-est, and est means it is. Grammar is truth. Logic is truth. Rhetoric is truth. You need the three together to formulate your sense of truth, what is reality, and how you move about freely in the world with predictable consequences. So, is my clicker not on? There we go. We could also call this presentation Where the Three Roads Meet to Reveal Objective Truth. It's 3 journeys you have to make in order to come to a conclusion. It's not one journey, it's not 2. You have to take all 3 roads before you can reach a salient, cogent, communicative type of action, solution, choice, judgment in your life. Now, show of hands. Raise your hand if schooling failed to provide you with a method to know the world that exists, validate your thinking, and take action with predictable consequences. Right. All of us. We didn't get that. That would be great. To know the world, let's find that which exists. Let's validate our thinking. Let's understand and remove the contradictions. And then let's take actions into the world with predictable consequences. So this logo, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, it was the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is how they encoded it. And traditionally, in the classical Trivium, in Christianity, it was always kept in Latin. That's the official language. And they also don't want to uncloak what the symbology of that could be. So to get to truth, you're going to need some individual parts. You need to understand how it reflects together, and then how to take that, what you've learned, and to participate in the world around you in a way that doesn't infringe on anyone's freedom. Now, long time ago, in a universe far away that had not succumbed to internet is dead theory, TragedyandHope.com had an online community. It still has this online community today. We've just moved it to a more friendly place with more feature functionality. In this group, we had 213 members. Now, this isn't the whole community. This is one group in the community. There's a couple thousand members in the community. This group had 213 nerds. And in there, we had a Trivium study group. It went on for several weeks, probably like 9 weeks or something like that. And that was conducted weekly conference calls with Gino Denning. He had brought the Trivium method. So he brought this knowledge of the classical Trivium and how it's used to program people, if it's used by the state on you. And it's also how you unprogram yourself from the state if you use it as a method to be an independent thinker. This has been very important to us. And since 2006, we've had interest in figuring out how to bring this truth discerning methodology back to the public knowledge. So we have a few axioms for tonight's conversation. Freedom depends on independent thinkers. Next one. Independent thinkers depend on freedom. And learning is how individuals remain independent and living in a state of freedom. So I want to ask, what do you guys think? Do you need freedom in your life? Does freedom matter to the free market? Can you have entrepreneurism? Can you even have employment as a free person in a world that wants everybody to own nothing, to like it, to eat the bugs, to be a slave? And if you don't know the difference between reality and unreality, if you don't have a method to consistently discern, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab type people, they're going to take advantage of you. They're going to take advantage of your family. They're going to take advantage of your future. They're already doing that. So I think we need to replace these elements, and let's go back and see what the next step would be. Here's some observations. Literacy is a form of slavery until a method of critical thinking is practiced consistently by the reader. Next one. We are not taught how to identify reality, how to discern and remove the unrealities, and how to arrive at a consistent judgment, choice, conclusion, leading to action. So if we don't have that, we're going to be acting in folly. We're going to be acting as clowns. We're going to be subjugated. We're going to be servile in that mentality. So we got to break that. And therefore, most who are literate do not use it for their own liberation, and they live lives of quiet desperation. What most want, but lack in the knowledge and practice through their life, through their lifestyle. The path to a challenging, invigorating, and productive livelihood can be intelligently defined only by you. Most people lack that. Sound physical health, a judicious ethical standard, a high level of self-esteem, and the sense of well-being can only be optimized by you. Rewarding personal relationships that manifest through integrity, accountability, and beneficial ethics and well-being can be cultivated only by you. And if we're not doing these things for ourselves, but we expect these things to be in our lives, we are misled. Here's the next one. The astuteness to best discern the issues, meaning the quality of information regarding security, can be developed only by you. You can't listen to the TV and base your life security on that. And the last one, understanding that your mental health is essential as it controls all the aspects above. You have to learn to actively maintain and monitor your connection to reality, e.g. your perception, your thinking, your consciousness, by using a method to calibrate, to keep unrealities at bay. Now, you need to clean house and add a few new software appliances. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be adding a few new software appliances to your brain. We can become truly educated. That means being able to entertain an idea without being subject to it. Aristotle said, the epitome of ignorance is to condemn a subject before examining it. Or he said, condemnation prior to examination is the epitome of ignorance. So we have to learn how to pick up an idea, to inspect it, but not necessarily buy into it. We have to verify, and then we can build trust. We want to be free of our own prison of prejudicial opinions. This learning how to think for yourself causes you to kind of question everything. How did I come to that opinion or that belief earlier in life? Maybe I should take a look at that, because only then can you have a truly open mind, which knows what a fact looks like. And then your mind closes when you understand. Then you take action, then you assess your results, and then you learn and you try again. So these are essential elements. I think that far too many people are concerned with failure. They're afraid to take action. They want to avoid risk instead of learning how to mitigate it. And these modalities prevent us from ever accessing our true self, identifying our potential, igniting our goals through our actions. It keeps people in a state of non-growth, of arrested development. So this is what we could become if we had a methodology to consistently find reality and take action. So we're going to learn how to become a first-hand independent thinker rather than a second-hand dependent thinker, because this is an important aspect of living a lifestyle of freedom and liberty. We're going to learn how to validate our thinking. We're going to learn how to identify BS, and we're going to learn how to do anything within the bounds of non-aggression and the freedom of others. So we're not going to aggress on other people's freedom. And within those boundaries, you can learn how to do anything you want. You want to learn how to fly a plane. You want to learn how to sail a boat. You want to learn how to talk to people and communicate your needs in a way that doesn't use violence or coercion or cringeworthy persuasion or pushing or any of these types of things. Learn how to move smoothly through life. This is what this methodology offers. Without these skills between your ears, it's very difficult to generate abundance in your life and the lives of others. What we're here to do, we're here to learn how to think and not tell you what to think. I'm not here to tell you here's how things are. Here's how things work. Now you go apply that for yourself. We have a few essential terms. Existence. Every entity, action, attribute, and relationship that is, was, or ever will be. This encompasses all word-related concepts in reality. This is the epistemology of freedom. Next, identity. That which an existent is the sum total of its attributes and characteristics, as opposed to that which does not exist. Arbitrary and insubstantial, they're dismissed. So we have to just say there's something that exists. We can identify what it is. We are conscious of it, the consciousness, the faculty of awareness that of that which exists. This is how we perceive it. Validation, the process of establishing an ideology's relation to reality or existence. And the law of causality. An entity must act in accord with its own nature. It's a corollary of the law of identity. So existence exists. I am conscious of it. Cause and effect exists. And now I have to think in order to survive in this terrain, in this environment, in this reality. Last but not least, logic is the art of non-contradictory identification in order to understand, to achieve an understanding. It is it's part of the three-step Trivium method by which we can think validly for ourselves. This is what gives you true autonomy. So if we go through schooling and they give us a bunch of programming, indoctrination, but they don't tell us how to have an idea, ask a question, find an answer, move forward on our own. They want us to be dependent on authority. They want us to be obedient to authority. They want us to be so obedient, we don't even use our reason, our learning, our eyes, ears, and our five senses to feed ourselves intelligence. They want us to always have a proxy. And the goal of this presentation is to teach you how to do it for yourself, and then teach you, if you could do it for yourself, the third step is how to share this wisdom with others, how to pay it forward. Moving forward past the definitions, knowledge of knowledge. This is a tautology on purpose. Knowledge of knowledge via the five common senses. A thing is what it is. Its characteristics constitute its identity. An existent apart from its characteristics would be an existent apart from its identity, which means a nothing, a non-existent. The concept identity does not indicate the particular natures of the existence it subsumes. It merely underscores the primary fact that they are what they are. Now, if we apply this to our conscious mind and our five senses, or it's called the five common senses, this is where common sense comes from. Our five common senses can feed us these 6 pieces of information: who, what, where, why, when, and how. That used to be the subject of good journalism. It used to be the subject of discovering knowledge, understanding knowledge, and passing knowledge along. Unfortunately, in the age of propaganda and psychological warfare, these questions were some of the victims. You don't need to know the answers to these questions. Just believe the headline, click on the clickbait, be lost in the sea of ones and zeros, and you can't tell your way from east or west or up or down. You can't navigate correctly. And the people who can see through that fog, they do navigate correctly. They do get consistent results out of their actions. So what is the question who? It is the question, the identification of the entity. What is the what? The identification of the thing or subject. The where is the identification of the place. Now you're starting to pick up on the law of identity. If it doesn't have identity, the entity might not exist in our reality. It might be some astral plane type thing, but if it's here and we could talk about it and it's something we should be concerned about, we could share this 6 pieces of knowledge. When is the identification of the time? Why is the identification of the reason, and how is the identification of the process or action? By answering these 6 points of identification, we can have knowledge. Now, let me ask you, if you don't have these 6 points of identification, how certain can you be of that fact? Oh, it might bring it into question, right? Okay, this is intellectual self-defense. This is what they don't want you to know how to do. They taught you how to read, but they don't teach you how to protect yourself from unrealities of reading. This is how the press has controlled the population for a long time. Assumption, obedience to authority, and not using your own literacy in a methodical manner to come to your own learning and teach yourself what you need to know. So we go back to this logo, 3 journeys. Keep that in mind. This methodology is a gift to every child, adolescent, and adult who should be presented with it to learn, and we should all learn, to elevate us to the dignity of self-determination. If you don't have a method like this to discern between fact and fiction, reality and unreality, you're flipping a coin all the time, and you could do better. So there's 3 steps to learning, or you could think of it as 3 roads to explore. It's pretty fun, but it's just one method to liberate you from the caged mind mentality. Liberate, liber in Latin as a noun means book, and as a verb, it means to free. So you liberate yourself with your literacy. So liberate your mind, ignite your potential, one method to cut all these strings. Here's the 3 steps: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. You might have heard about them. We're going to learn more about them. We could genericize it, update it, make it 21st century. Input, processing, and output. Very easy. Technical people speak like that. Great. We can use either of these. They mean the same thing in this context. These are the first 3 of the 7 liberal arts. These are the arts of self-liberation. General grammar is the what. The why is explained by the formal Aristotelian logic, and the how is explained by the classical rhetoric. 3 steps. Grammar. We're going to methodically gather definitions and raw factual data into a coherent body of knowledge. Logic. We're going to gain an understanding, a working understanding, by systematically eliminating all discoverable contradictions within it. Rhetoric. To wisely express, implement, and leverage and utilize that valid knowledge and cogent understanding of the world. Now, you might get a new blank, and you have to read the definitions and what are the parts and where the wires go. And then the logic, you put it together and you try it out. It doesn't work. Go back to the logic. There's a contradiction someplace. Something's plugged in the wrong place. You work that out. Now you can wisely express, implement it, use that blank that you just bought, that appliance, that tool, that thing that you got that's going to help you get to your next goal. This is the process to crank that widget. Once you know how to do something, it's just like an assembly line. You can crank that widget. It's not ad hoc. You don't have to make it up as you go anymore. It's like, oh, what are the individual parts? How do they fit together? And how do I get to the next step? Let's go a little bit deeper into grammar. This answers the 4 questions: who, what, where, when. So the identity of the entities involved, the subject action, the identity of the place, the identity of the time. And this is where we discover and organize the facts of reality. This is your input. This is your basis for factual knowledge about things that exist in reality. Now, just because we're not taught this doesn't mean we can't easily pick this up. I believe that old dogs can learn new tricks, especially once you learn the Trivium method. Then you can teach yourself any trick you want. I can understand people are hesitant to say, you know what, this sounds like a lot of work. It does when you learn about it, because it's very wordy and I got to put a lot of words on slides and give you caveats. But once you start to internalize it through repetition, then it becomes very fluid. I can't tell you the last time I just got a very complex technical machine, thousands of dollars. I put it together. I didn't even read the instructions. Form and function. You can identify how things go together, and they do have a logic to them. And then you can refer to the instruction. I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying it gives you that ability, that it saves you the time of sitting there and doing the thing and then figuring it out. Makes it much more readily available to internalize knowledge being offered by somebody else, to be able to process it, to be able to put it into action, and then to be able to share it with other people, which makes one heck of an offer to the market that you're now bringing as an indispensable person who can learn anything and apply that learning to the internet, where you can get the information to do just about anything you want to learn. So let's go back to the slides. Logic answers the question of why of the subject. It's the identity, the reason. This is where we remove all the contradiction. This is where we resolve the fallacies. This is where we gain understanding, and we can check that. We can then make a choice, a decision, a judgment, a conclusion. We can then move on to the next step, and that equals action, which is what most people in this world are lacking. They have ideas. They don't know how to get organized or into action. This processing stage clears the way for all sorts of action with predictable consequences. This is the rhetoric step. It provides the how of a subject. It applies knowledge and understanding. It's how to use, how to troubleshoot, how to improve. It's the stage where action is taken. This is where true learning comes from these actions. This is our output stage, and then you can crank another widget by going back to the beginning. Now, the system, using these 3 processes together, these 3 roads to smash them into the middle, right? You got to work inward from each of these 3 roads. The input is to discover and organize a body of knowledge. The processing is to fully understand that knowledge in a frame of objective logic without contradictions. The output, wisely implement or express that knowledge and understanding through your words and actions. So the liberating result. We're now capable of teaching ourselves how to be conversant in any subject we like, if we learn to teach ourselves how to overcome these obstacles and excuses and make our plans and goals into a reality. We can map our dreams to reality with this method. We can achieve anything we set our mind to. And here's the wisdom part. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when shared. The work of wisdom is a cogent and coherent communication of knowledge and understanding. The effect of wisdom: demonstrate the usefulness of knowledge and understanding. And the use of wisdom is through the skilled use of rhetoric. All planned human activity can be communicated and directed. And in the framework, let's put a frame around it. Be excellent to each other. Don't use this knowledge to undermine the liberty and freedom of others, but rather do likewise. Pay it forward as the key that unlocks the cage that most people's brains have been kept in, and now you can be liberated. There's some homework. I didn't have time to talk about fallacies. Fallacies, there's a long list, there's a short list. Fallacies come from the Latin word fallere. They mean to deceive. They are attempts to deceive you. So learn the basic fallacies. Identify when unfacts present themselves as truth easily, readily, by understanding how fallacies work and how actual logic works. And it's two different things. When it's not logical, it's going to be one of these fallacies. Protect your mind from these mind viruses of unrealities that infect so many people and take their lives away from their goals. Embolden your intellectual self-defense. After mastering the Trivium method, there is something called the Quadrivium. It is the last 4 of the 7 liberal arts. It includes arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. What are those things? How do they go together? Arithmetic is number. This is a subjective concept. You hold it in your head. Geometry is number in space. Now, number comes out and becomes an objective thing. This bridges the subjective and the objective worlds. Music is number in time, and astronomy is number in space and time because it moves around. So we're going to learn in the future, learn the skills that reveal your life's purpose, unlock your potential, outgrow your status quo. You can see it in this presentation. It takes practice. That's why I say you're going to learn it in the future. You're going to have to practice and try to apply this method. Outgrow your status quo, get autonomy. And I brought something for everybody here today. It's not just that tagline. Get your critical thinking trifecta bonus at universityofreason.com/trifecta. There is a $300 value on that, and we do not have a new coupon code, so I used PorkFest Trivium. It'll work for anybody who sees this video. And universityofreason.com/mindset has a separate and different entry. If you're all set on the Trivium and you're ready to unlock your next actions, your goals, your situation that you want to get to and map it to reality, get the mindset and goal setting workshop. It's normally $300. You can use the same code PorkFest and unlocks the entire bundle for $0 and unlock the Trivium method, unleash your mind. It's a challenge. I lay at your feet. You now know it exists. There is much more to learn about this, but my time here today is short and sweet. Thank you so much for everyone's attendance and attention to this matter. And I now turn it back over to the maestros.